That's not right. You don't sit here and talk about struggles, sit here and struggle with. It's not one sibling, you got 9 other siblings.
Prior to F and twerking on headlights, and you and your girls in the hood with the video.
Yeah.
Were you putting out rap records around Memphis? Was that your thing?
Yeah, like I was known in Memphis.
Yeah.
For how long? How far back?
I'll say I started getting notoriety and like
GloRilla just put her own sister on blast in a brand new track, and now her sister has had enough and fired back. This isn't Twitter beef. This isn't Heat 5 talk. She's basically saying this is blood calling out blood on wax, and now blood is answering blood on record.
That's not right. You don't sit here and talk about struggles, sit here and struggle with. It's not one sibling, you got 9 other siblings. She get her money just because she got plenty other in Memphis.
We've got lyrics, we've got receipts, and we've got the full breakdown of what really went down between these two Memphis women. And honestly, this situation goes way deeper than just two sisters clashing over a song. This goes back years, money, loyalty, family trauma, and what happens when one person blows while everyone around them feels left behind. And trust me, you need the full picture because the internet only gave you the surface. I'm giving you the foundation. Let's get into it. To understand how we even got here, we have to go back to Memphis, Tennessee, and look at who Gloria Wood's known to the cool mom. World as GloRilla really was before the fame, before the CMG deal, before FNF turned her into a household name. Overnight, GloRilla didn't come from money. She came from struggle, real documented hard concrete struggle. She grew up in North Memphis in conditions that weren't easy at all. For the longest time, she was just another girl from the city grinding with no guarantee anything would ever pay off. She was rapping before the deal. She was recording before the label. She was putting in work when there was no paycheck, no audience, and no cosign from Yo Gotti or anyone else, and through all of it, family was right there. Her sisters, her circle, they saw the grind firsthand. Then came 2022 FNF. Let's go. Drops in GloRilla's life changes almost overnight from the outside looking in, but in reality, it was years of work finally hitting at once. And here's the part people don't really talk about. When someone blows up like that, going from nothing to everything in a short span, the people closest to them don't always adjust smoothly. Family dynamics that were already complicated Yet even heavier old issues resurface, new expectations form. Suddenly, the people who were there during the struggle start feeling like they're owed something emotionally, financially, even publicly, and that's exactly where things start to crack between GloRilla and her sister. Now, I'm not going to drop her sister's government name here because she has her own life, her own platform, and didn't exactly sign up to be the center of a full breakdown. But what I will say is this situation has been brewing for a while. There have been social media moments post vague captions and stories that people who were really paying attention definitely picked up on, comments that felt directed, energy that didn't feel right. And over time, it became clear something was off between them. The streets were already talking for months. Fans who closely follow GloRilla noticed the shift, the absence, the distance, the lack of family presence in ways you usually see when someone blows up. Then GloRilla drops new music, and this is where things really start heating up. She's been on a strong run lately, building her catalog and showing she's more than just the FNF moment people initially boxed her into. So when she drops again, people are locked into the lyrics, the tone, and the direction of her sound. But this particular track, it had people pausing. Let me break it down, because this is where the detective work starts. GloRilla delivers lines that are clearly, and I mean clearly, aimed at someone in her personal life. This isn't generic industry talk or vague flexing. This feels direct the way she frames it. The details she includes and the emotions behind the bars point to betrayal, someone she trusted, someone close, someone who knew her before all of this. She's basically speaking on feeling, used like someone around her benefited from her rise without putting in equal effort, someone who wanted access to the lifestyle. The success in the spotlight without matching the grind. She talks about loyalty being tested, about people switching up once money enters the picture, about realizing not everyone who is close to you and struggle deserves a seat in success. And then this is where the internet really locks in. She drops that, enters the picture, about realizing not everyone who is close to you and struggles deserves a line so specific it starts narrowing everything down. It references a situation that only makes sense if you know her personal circle. And once people started putting the pieces together, the conclusion online pointed in one direction. Her sister's social media went into full detective mode. Twitter, Threads, TikTok, breakdowns, Reddit analysis, all of it started connecting old posts, past moments, and family interactions to figure out who the diss was aimed at. And the consensus forming wasn't random. It was based on context people had been noticing for months now. Think about what it actually means to This your own sister on a record. This isn't industry competition. This isn't rival energy. This is family, someone who shared your childhood, your home life, your real identity before fame. When you put that on wax, it means the situation has reached a point where words in private weren't enough anymore, because real pain doesn't usually make it into a song, unless it's been sitting heavy for a long time. But here's where it flips again, GloRilla's sister hears the track, or at least hears enough about it and decides she's not staying silent. She responds, and let's be real, responding to your own famous sibling in music is not a small decision. On one side, you've got an artist with a massive platform industry backing and global reach. On the other side, you've got your version of the truth, false. And she chooses to put it on record. The response immediately feels different in tone, where GloRilla's energy feels controlled, processed, and pointed. Her sister's response feels more raw, more unfiltered, like someone who's been holding everything in and finally lets it out. She pushes back on the idea that she was just trying to ride GloRilla's success. Her argument is simple. She was there before the fame, before the deal, before the spotlight. She was present during the struggle years. So being labeled as an opportunist doesn't sit right with her at all. And if that's true, it shifts the whole narrative, because then it's not just about someone trying to benefit from fame. It becomes about how two people experience the same journey differently once success arrived. But it doesn't stop there. The response also dives into family expectations, what success was supposed to mean for everyone involved, not just personal success, but shared responsibility, shared outcomes, shared changes in lifestyle. And she raises a bigger question: whether GloRilla changed after the money came in, whether fame shifted priorities, relationships, and who gets access to her life. Now that's where things get really heavy, because that's not just a music conversation anymore. That's a family conversation a lot of people can relate to, and then things escalate further because the sister's response also starts hinting at private situations, things the public has no real context for, moments behind closed doors, unresolved arguments, decisions made that she clearly feels need to be addressed publicly now. And that's where the situation, whole different level of escalation here, because now you're not just exchanging bars about emotions. You're pointing at specific behavior, specific moments, specific decisions. And once that happens, you're basically challenging the other person to respond with specifics. You're opening the door to a back and forth that can get very deep very fast. Now here's where people started connecting the dots, because once both tracks were out, the internet turned into a kind of grand jury trying to piece together who's telling the truth and what actually went down. Let me break this down for y'all, because there are actually multiple layers to what's being argued here, and not all of them carry the same weight of evidence. The first layer is the who was there during the struggle debate, and honestly, there is some public record here. If you go back and check GloRilla's early social media before she blew up, her sister is actually visible. She was part of GloRilla's documented life before fame. This isn't someone who randomly appeared after FNF went viral. There's a real history there. So when her sister says she was around during the come-up, that part at least matches what's publicly out there. The second layer is the what does family of family, when someone makes it conversation and no cap. This is where things get complicated. People have very different beliefs here. Some feel strongly that once you make it, you're supposed to bring your whole family up, financially, professionally, everything. Others, especially artists, feel like they built this career through sacrifice, and they get to decide access, boundaries, and terms. There's no universal rule here. Every family is different, every culture is different, and hip-hop especially has always had this heavy expectation of a take care of you. The third layer, and this is where things move into real, she said territory, is whatever specific incidents the sister is referring to in her response. And I gotta keep it real with y'all. We don't fully know those details. We've got lyrics, emotional tone, and implication, but not the full context. And in situations like this, context changes everything. The line between betrayal and misunderstanding often comes down to the parts nobody is publicly sharing. But here's what actually happened in terms of internet reaction, and this part is verifiable. The response track blew up way bigger than most people expected it. Went viral, got heavy coverage, and suddenly this family situation wasn't private anymore. It was being discussed at scale, and that changes everything for GloRilla, because now she's not just dealing with a personal issue, she's dealing with a public narrative. She doesn't fully control a control. Fans are split between loyalty and criticism. Critics are using it as ammo, supporters are defending her, and the sister has effectively flipped the storyline from GloRilla dissed her sister to her sister responded, and now the world is watching. Nobody really thought this would just disappear after like one track. So where does this leave GloRilla? At this point in her career, she's not just an artist, she's a brand. She's tied to CMG. She's doing major collaborations, and her public image is carefully managed. Now she has a very public family conflict sitting right in the middle of that. The decision she and her team have to make is whether to respond publicly or stay silent, because if she responds with music, she escalates it and gives it more oxygen. But if she stays quiet, she risks letting her sister's version dominate the narrative, and in public opinion, silence often gets interpreted as confirmation. At least early on, there is also a third route experienced artists sometimes take, addressing it indirectly, not a diss track, not a full response, but hints in interviews, social media, energy, body language, subtle acknowledgments without turning it into a full music war with family. Now looking at the sister's position, it's layered too. On one hand, she's getting attention she likely wouldn't have gotten otherwise. Her response track is reaching people who probably never would have found her music. That's exposure. But on the other hand, that attention comes with a label she can't escape. This moment will follow her every move she makes now gets filtered through this situation. Then there's the family side, which is honestly the most important part, but also the least visible. At the end of the day, after the streams slow down and the online debate fades, these are still two people who share a mother, shared memories, and real history. Whatever caused this, whether it's one big fallout or years of buildup, it's not something that gets fixed just by trading songs. Public reaction has been split in a way that says a lot about the culture. Some people fully side with GloRilla's, saying you can't let everyone dictate your success. Once you make it, others lean toward the sister because of that's family hits different emotionally. And then there's a third group, the most balanced one, that says we don't actually know enough to fully pick a side. After all, this people started digging up old posts, old clips, old interactions, trying to reconstruct what their relationship really looked like before fame. And that only made things more complicated because real relationships are never clean or simple. And here's the bigger picture. This isn't just about GloRilla and her sister. This is something that happens constantly in hip-hop and entertainment. When someone goes from scarcity to success, the question of what you owe your people always comes up, and there's never an easy answer from GloRilla's side. Think about what it takes to build that kind of success, years of being overlooked, you owe. Underestimated and pushing through an industry that doesn't make space easily. The instinct to protect what you've built and control access to it is understandable from the sister's side. Think about watching someone you grew up with suddenly enter a completely different world, success, money, fame, and feeling like your connection to them changes based on achievement. That shift can feel painful and personal in ways that are hard to explain. And that's why this conversation hits so hard. It's not unique, it's just public. Both sides going to music with it also says something. At the end of the day, both of them trust the art form enough to turn real pain into records. That's a very hip-hop way of processing life, even if it gets messy. As for what happens next, it really depends. If GloRilla responds directly, it could escalate things even more. If she ignores it, the narrative might keep moving without her input, or it could eventually cool down and turn into something handled privately over time. But real family situations don't follow internet timelines, and that's the part people often forget.